Hey, Mr. Wiedemer here from Mr. Wiedemer's History. Today we're going to continue talking about the West. We're talking about farming in the West. This is 2.3, farming in the West. Okay, objective today, you guys will be able to describe how farming helped change the West. Now we've talked about the mining frontier and how the miners basically settled the West and they created states. And so they basically found the West. Then we talked about the cattle industry, the cattle drive, right? How we shipped meat from Texas to the East, all right, and created the cowboys and the wild, wild West and all that good stuff. Now today, part 3, we're talking about farming and settling in the West. So we're going to start off with settlers staked out homesteads to begin farming the region. Now we're going to farm the region. Now there's only one problem with this. A lot of this land that the government gives to people to farm shouldn't be farmed in the first place. Yeah, you'll learn more about the effects of this when we get to the Great Depression New Deal when it comes to the Dust Bowl. And so that's a bad deal all around. But this is the beginning of that, where we're going to give out land, people to settle, till the land that probably shouldn't be tilled. Right? So the population is going to grow at the Civil War. People moving out west. Remember, a lot of African Americans moving out west, getting out of the South, getting out of the segregation, getting away from that for a new start, a new beginning. So a lot of people moving out west for that reason. A lot of people move to America for a new start. People move in America. Okay, they migrate throughout history, for our American history. They're moving west, constantly moving west. Remember, this is manifest destiny. Alright, from sea to shining sea, it's God's will for us to conquer it all. It's all ours. I don't care who's in our way, it's ours. So land once thought to be worthless for farming, and it still is worthless for farming, was transformed into America's Wheatbelt. Now, the land was good for a while. It still is, out in Kansas and Nebraska. A lot of wheat's grown out there. Kansas is the wheat state. But they overgrazed land and they plowed over land that shouldn't have been plowed over. And starts off here with Stephen Long. He's an explorer out west, and he called it the Great American Desert. Hence that there's no way people can go out there and live in the West. It's not going to happen. Alright, so he calls it the Great American Desert. And he was wrong, by the way, because people thrived out west. But it's very important, to notice the changes in the attitude and the changes over time of the Americans' perspective of the West. All right, because in the early 1800s, they thought no one can live out here. It's deserts. It's not good. And we have this thing called the safety valve of social discontent. Very famous. Psychological, stuck in our American brains that we can always start over. We can always start anew. And the West, the frontier, gives us that. We can always start fresh. Alright, so the safety valve is the frontier, is the West. We can start anew whenever we want. We still have those ideals today. The land of opportunity. We can start over if we need to. Alright, it's just the safety valve of social discontent. You're discontent where you're at, move west, young man. Move west. Make something of yourself. So, civil departments, right, these people are going to undermine, later on, I said the attitude towards the West changed when people realized, yeah, you can live out there. And you can grow, there's fertile land out there. And so the railroad companies, they're going to buy up a lot of land, of course, and they're going to get rich from it. They're going to buy up the best land. They're going to sell it. People can live by the railroads. Towns can go up by the railroad and make the railroad more money. Right? So the railroad has a big part in this land prospecting. We'll get to that next chapter. We'll talk about the industry of the railroad. And so the railroad industry is going to send pamphlets and flyers all the way to Europe on every, seaboard, every telephone pole post, wherever you're advertising anything. Move west, Come out, work for the railroad. Come out, buy the land for the railroad. It's yours. Come and get it. People were like, hey, this is a good idea. It's land of opportunity. This is Hustle and Bustle City. And farming in the West, you see a lot of corn in the upper Midwest, the wheat, Kansas, Oklahoma, North South Dakota, up in the Northwest, a lot of cattle, we talked about that last time, and the old Cotton Kingdom as well, still thriving. And for more than a decade, this thing really tricked people, because weather patterns change and shift all the time. And throughout the 1870s, there was a lot of rain on the plains. And this led people to believe that with all this rain and moisture, that this land can be inhabited, we can grow lots of crops, we can be rich, and we can just, it'd be like, a great opportunity, a great start. So, but then when the weather pattern starts changing, people are stuck out there. It's not good. So here's the big kahuna. Here's the code cheese right here. This is what you need to know about farming in the West. The Homestead Act, 1862. Congress, the government, wants people to move out west. How are they going to do this? By giving them free land. And so basically what you do, you pay $10 to register yourself. The government gives you up to 160 acres of land. You live on it and farm it for 5 years, and it's yours for free. Free land in Iowa, Nebraska, and Kansas. Free land. Alright, this is what gets most people out west. Okay, you had your miners. You have your cattle drives. And now you have your homesteaders, your sodbusters. These people are your farmers. These people are going to move out west for free land. Alright, $10 registration fee. You get 160 acres for free. And why do you have to live on 5 years? Well, as we all know about happening in Northwest Ordinance, the Northwest Territory, when land prospectors would just buy up all the land and sell it for huge margins. The government got, not going to fall for this again. So that did happen. But they're going to make you live on it. Make you live on it. Free land. So, with this land, and in the abundance of rain in the 1870s, and then abruptly the weather patterns changed, and not so much rain anymore. The environment became dry, not enough trees. Like you mentioned earlier about the barbed wire. You had to have that, the wire fences, barbed wire, keep the cattle from going through your homestead. A few streams ran year-round. Underground water was hard to attain. It was really deep. Hard to dig a well that deep. This climate was severe. Really hot summers, really cold winters, droughts, fires. It was just bad news all around. Many people packed up and left. Many people stayed out there. Alright, a quick review of this. The West was coined the Great American Desert by Stephen Long. Thought the region was uninhabitable. Boy, was he wrong. Railroad companies got rich, gained land to settlers, advertised everywhere. The big kahuna, free land! The Homestead Act. All you have to do is pay $10 down, and you get free land. Yes, you heard me right. 160 acres for free, free, free. That's the big kahuna. Homestead Act, free land, moves people out west. Don't forget that. And along with the people moving out west, many hardships. Many hardships. Alright, next up to the Wheatbelt. Now, a lot of wheat, as we saw earlier on the map, was grown in Kansas, Oklahoma, and the Northwest, and as a result of these new farming methods, you can grow tons of it. Because now, thanks to the likes of John Deere, right, we get new machinery to help us farm, and we can be very, very successful on that. There's different reproductions of the regions, Pacific, Northern Plains, Central Southern Plains. This is where wheat's grown in the United States. There's many new farming methods and inventions in the 19th century going to revolutionize this agriculture. Alright, dry farming was popular in the plains because, well, there's no water. They had to just, farm it dry. Right? People called sodbusters. They built, sod houses. They're, they're going to make the most of it because after all, the land was free, and they were told that it's workable, so they're going to do whatever they can to do that. Right? But the drought, wind erosion, overuse of land, prairie soil got bad, especially when it comes to the 1930s, the dirty 30s. We'll get to that a little later on in the year. But like I said, it all starts here. So many inventions, right? Big one, John Deere. Right? John Deere is probably one of the most famous farm implementation company in the world because they're one of the first. They're the ones that got the name out there first and made quality plows, mechanical plows. They're going to make the life of the farmers easy. Right? They can grow more crops, but as we all know, that leads to overproduction, which becomes even more problem later on. And you guessed it, the 1930s. So, like I said, the Wheatbelt is going to stretch north and south from the Dakotas, Kansas, Nebraska. Very large Wheatbelt. And these places are called bonanzas. Like the TV show with Haas, Bonanza. And so covered up to 50,000 acres of land full of wheat. It's a lot of wheat. But we have drought. We have farmers in Europe and overseas that are competing. So not much people are buying our wheat. And so the wheat belt kind of went nowhere fast. So on April 22nd, 1889, the government's going to open up the last large territory of settlement. This is it. 1890 is coming. 1890, the end of the frontier. Settlement is officially over with. Right. People, like I said, still moved out west. They still move out west. To Arizona, California. Not for the same reasons, but, for many of the same reasons at the same time. Like, fresh start, safety valve syndrome. I can start over. The American dream. So there's a lot of occupied land. 1900s, closing the frontier. Ended with the wedding of the rails, Ptolemy Point, Utah. We'll talk about that next chapter, next unit, when we get to the railroad, the big industry railroad, the first big industry in the United States. So, in review of this lesson, alright, the West coined the Great American Desert by Stephen Long. Thought the region was uninhabitable. Boy, was he wrong. Right? Railroad companies got rich. Right? Grain land to settlers. Advertised everywhere. Homestead Act, free land, free land. $10 down payment. Boom, it's yours for free. 160 acres. You live on it for 5 years. It's yours. That's a heck of a deal. That's probably one of the most important factors in all this whole lesson here is the Homestead Act. Free land. Right? And many hardships occurred when settlers moved out there. And how are we going to get wood? You chopped it off. You send it down the rivers out west. That's how you got wood out west. And John Deere, many others, create new inventions to make farming easier. Eventually lead to overproduction, competition from overseas. Kind of rough out there. Kind of rough for the life of a farmer. And here's my sources. So until next time, I'm Mr. Wiedmer. Don't forget, study history.